Hello everyone and welcome back to my YouTube channel. I'm so very glad that you clicked in today's video to join me and bringing you my book review on The Maidens by LiQWYD. So without further ado, let's jump straight into the video. In today's video, I will have a little spoiler section at the end, giving you all the little juicy deets so that if you do want to pick up the book and don't want it spoiled, then you will just not be able to watch that section of the video, and I'll make sure I link it down below for you guys. But I ended up rating this 3 stars. I didn't like it. I found it very annoying and very confusing. Yet I finished it, so that's why I rated it 3 stars, because I think it bothered me so much. I wanted to know what was responsible and what was happening. But the general synopsis of this book is you have the main character, Mariana. She's a therapist who just recently lost her husband, and she's kind of grieving, also trying to just do the best she can at her job. And she gets a call from her niece, Zoe, stating that there has been a murder at the school, and the murder happens to be her really good friend, and she needs her aunt. So Mariana drops everything and she races to the school to go figure out what's going on. As soon as she gets there, she starts to get this idea that it could be one of the teachers. He's this American dreamy professor who has a club called the Maidens. And in the Maidens, it's comprised of these beautiful, I mean, absolutely drop-dead gorgeous girls who are, no pun intended, who are really rich and super affluent and who have very important parents throughout the world. And so these girls have social status, and they all happen to be one of the maidens within the group, the Maidens. There's this little club that he teaches after hours to talk about lit, Greek mythology, poetry, all of the things. And the girl who ended up dying, she was a part of that group. And so Mariana automatically pinpoints and tries to do everything she can to prove that Edward is responsible, all the while Edward is trying to prove that he is not the killer and that he doesn't know what's going on. And so that's the general synopsis of the book. You're trying to figure out at the end who's responsible for killing. I think her name was Taryn. I can't exactly remember. But you want to figure out who is responsible for killing her. And Mariana definitely believes that it was the professor because he has the club with the girls in it. And it seems very straightforward. It definitely seems like, oh, that's super simple. But then the book develops this inner dialogue in the inside where the voice is describing a very traumatic childhood. It's describing these murders. It's describing these just traumas that they went through and this dark, gory past. And so as that's happening, no one in the book at all is even remotely presenting anything to lead you to believe it could be them. So as you're reading the book, even though you also, suspect Edward, nothing in this inner dialogue between the chapters that's like being spoken points to anybody, not even him. And so you're just like, who is this inner dialogue? Could it be Mariana? You know what I mean? I think that just really confused me because I'm thinking, I thought that should lead you to pinpoint somebody to like fixate as who you find responsible. So then as the book went on, I didn't in any way, shape, or form know who it could be. Nothing presented that it could be that person. You know what I mean? It just kind of threw me off, and it just really began to confuse me. And I didn't really like that. And as you're getting that inner dialogue and just the main plot of Mariana trying to prove that the professor is responsible, you're also watching Mariana go through some really weird interactions with a graduate student at the school who starts to say things that match that inner dialogue. So then you're thinking, okay, maybe he's responsible. And then you get these weird interactions with a patient that she was treating before she came to the university, who's very weird. She starts to get followed, like a lot of things that aren't pointing to really anybody. And so you still are just up in the air, confused. And that really happened till probably the last 50 pages in the book. And I really didn't like that. I didn't like the fact that no one made me feel as though they were responsible for the murder. I didn't like the fact that even though she was interacting with a graduate student and everything that and things that he was saying matched that inner dialogue, it's like I still wasn't confident enough that it was him. And so it's like I didn't know what was happening. And I get the fact that thrillers and mysteries want you to kind of be on that wild goose chase. They want you to give you that slow burn and not let you know who it is. But this just confused me because I didn't know why the author was putting these things in the book if they weren't led to help you pinpoint anybody as being responsible for the murders. And so I just didn't really like that. That's why I rated it the way I did. But bear in mind, if you read it and you like it, then by all means, read it and love it. And I hope that you do. I hope that you don't experience it in the way that I did. So I will have it linked down below for you guys. But yeah, that's my thoughts on why I gave it a 3-star rating. I do think the silent patient reference in the book was really, really nice. And I think don't go into this book believing it'll be what the silent patient gave you, because that's what I did. I think that's why I also rated it so low, is that I went into it thinking that it was going to knock my socks off and the plot twist was just going to be crazy and I was going to be thrown for a loop, and I wasn't. I was actually more confused when I figured out what happened than I think I would have been had, you know, it'd been maybe more obvious, maybe, or whatever. Maybe that's not the right way to put it, but I just was more confused. When I figured out who was responsible, I was like, what? Why? Like, when did it lead us to even think it was them? Like, nothing remotely even pointed to them. And so that's why I gave it the way I did. But yeah, that is my thoughts on the Maidens. And then now we can jump into the little spoiler sesh of this video. So if you are ending off here, I thank you so much for watching, and I hope that you enjoy the read if you do end up picking it up. And if you are here to figure out all the juicy information to figure out who is responsible for killing the Maidens, then stay tuned. Let's talk about the spoilers. So you want to know who is responsible for killing the 2 girls in the Maidens. Well, apparently the person honking their horn out there doesn't want me to tell you, but I'm going to tell you anyways. Edward Fosca is not the father. No. Edward Fosca did not do the murdering. He is not the killer. He is not responsible. But yet, Edward Fosca was fired from the university for sleeping with those students and doing drugs. So he wasn't at all innocent, but he wasn't guilty of the murdering. And so he was released from the university, and you don't really know much after that. But the person who is actually responsible for killing these girls was Zoe. And she happened to be one of the members in the Maidens as well, but she lied to her aunt and not told her. And that confused the living daylights out of me, because nowhere in the book was there anything remotely pointing to Zoe. I guess you get the fact that she lied. She didn't say she was a part of the Maidens. And so when you figured that out, it did make you wonder, why did she lie? But she just chalked it up to, she didn't want to be connected to that group. She didn't really like those girls. She didn't like what was happening. Her friend is dead now. She doesn't want to be a part of them. And so I think it made sense that she kind of lied about it. And so it didn't really make me even still believe that it was her. But at the end of the book, when Mariana's kind of had all that she can take, she's kind of giving up and just wants to kind of just throw in the towel. She still wants to prove, she still chooses though that she's going to stick around to try to prove that it's Edward Fosca. And at that point, when she confronts Zoe about being a part of the Maidens, Zoe says she was scared because she was trying to be initiated, or they were trying to initiate her, and he was trying to force himself upon her and was actually going to kill her if she didn't, go along with it. And she's telling this to her aunt as well as another faculty member. And they're like, okay, well, we need to go get that knife, that evidence that you're talking about at this initiation site, so we can pin it on him. If we have hard evidence, we'll be able to prove it. And so they say the next day they're going to go and do that. Well, that next day, when she gets to Zoe's room to kind of get her ready to go, she's there before Zoe gets back, and she's looking around the room, and she happens to find this letter kind of falling out of something, and she picks it up, and the letter almost confesses to the murders. But not in the way that you would expect someone just coming out and saying it. It's more of like you're reading it and you see someone confessing, and then they're explaining to somebody that the work has to be completed. It needs to be done. It needs to happen. Like, we're almost there. The point of it has come, and we're going to get to what we've always wanted. Almost a cult-like kind of way I was getting from that letter. So Mariana hides the letter. Zoe shows up, and she's like, okay, let's go on. Let's go do it. And so she gets herself together, and they go. And so as they're on their way driving, Mariana gets a call from Fred, who is a graduate student that was completely in love with her throughout the book, which also didn't make any sense to me. And he's like, I've had a premonition. You're in danger. Do not go where you're going. Something bad is going to happen. And she's like, I don't have time for this right now, Fred. I'm in the middle of something right now. Please stop. That was it. So then she's in this little boat. They're going to this initiation site. It's raining, it's foggy, it's gross, and she's terrified. Something is making her think Zoe is responsible or connected in kind of way. So she decides to confront Zoe, and Zoe is not happy about it. How dare you stoop around my things? How dare you do that? That's not fair. So on and so forth. Then they get out, they look for this initiation site. Zoe very quickly finds the knife, and it has some crusted blood on it, and so it leads Mariana to believe this is actually a murder weapon. Zoe is connected in some way. Then Zoe just comes out, gets very like grimly and gross text, and is like, so actually I am responsible. I'm the one who did the murders. I killed these girls because Sebastian, which is Mariana's husband who passed away, who she was madly in love with, and I were having an affair, and he loved me and he didn't love you, and he only got with you to get closer to me, and this is what he's always wanted. He wanted me to fulfill his wishes and his dreams. This is the only way that I knew how to do it, and it was some form of some type of like rebirth or some type of thing that didn't make any sense to me. And so I'm carrying it out, and you were the last person I was supposed to kill. And she like tries to lunge at her with the knife. And then you hear Fred in the distance, which how the heck did he figure out where they were at? It confuses me. This man and his premonitions. I'm not even gonna lie to you. He got so many premonitions that literally just, I don't even get it. But he's running up and he's like, I'm going to push Zoe. He tries to attack Zoe and gets bashed in the head with a rock. And he's laying out in the rain. And I'm like, Fred, like, what are you doing, bro? Zoe and Mariana are fighting. She tries to stab Mariana. Mariana pushes her and Zoe falls on the knife and it's sticking out of her chest. And she's screaming. Zoe sits there. Mariana sits there in the rain and is like, I can't believe this is happening. My husband cheated on me with my niece, and my niece was trying to kill me, and she killed girls at this school, and my husband never loved me. And so that's how the book ends. Zoe gets arrested. She goes into a mental home, the mental home that happens to be the same mental home that is in the silent patient, or the mental hospital that is inside the patient, the silent patient. And so there was another reference you get there. And then they take Fred to the hospital, and then that is how the book ends. And then towards the very, very end, like the last couple of chapters, I think it is, Mariana goes to the hospital and is debating on seeing Zoe and actually just seeing how she's doing. And then she goes and like figures out how Fred's doing at the actual hospital. And so, yeah, that is how the book ended. It confused me. It didn't make any sense as to why Sebastian, her husband, wanted to kill the girls. And then when he died, how Zoe continued his work. I don't know. So it just threw me for a loop. It definitely threw me for a huge loop, and I just didn't get it at all. And so, yeah, that is the spoilers to The Maidens. I definitely say if you haven't read The Silent Patient, to give it a read. I thought that was really good. I wouldn't waste my time on reading The Maidens, but if you want to have another one of Alex's books underneath your belt, then I say get the book, link down below, and read it. I think it's always nice to like get references to a previous book within their other books, and so you might like that, but I don't think it's worth reading it just for the references. But yeah, that's going to conclude today's video. I really do hope that you guys enjoyed it. I definitely hope that it gave you all the things you were hoping for and more. And if you liked it, do not forget to give it a thumbs up and hit your notification bell. Then every time I post a video, you can be notified of it. And subscribe to my YouTube channel and join the Bookish fam, because we're so nice and we have so much fun together. And then stay tuned, because this week I will have some really nice videos out for you guys, as well as my review on Behind Closed Doors, which was my favorite psych thriller so far of all time, and I cannot wait to talk to you guys about that. But yeah, without further ado, I will catch you all in my very next video.